Peace and love and welcome to the Daily Brief. This is the space and place where we bring you the headlines that are impacting the Black experience. So here's what you need to know for today. Joining us now is coach and life strategist Wendy Gladney, who is also a multifaceted businesswoman with close to 30 years of experience here in Southern California. She is the founder of Season of Greatness. She's also the founder of Personal Services Plus Consulting and the nonprofit Forgiving for Living. Welcome, Wendy.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Niele. It is such a pleasure to be here.
This is Women's Month, the month of March.
Yeah.
And you're here to talk about a couple of things. But first, let's start with Season of Greatness. What is Season of Greatness all about?
Well, that's a great question. And I actually started Season of Greatness back in 2018 after I had gone through a series of different issues. I had gone through a divorce. I was an empty nester. I was thinking about the direction I wanted the rest of my life to go in as it relates to business and in the community. Mm-hmm. And as I was sharing with my kitchen cabinet and talking to people that I know very well, they kept saying, Wendy, I've always admired how no matter what season you go through, you still seem to do pretty good. You come out better or greater. Mm-hmm. And so that's where Season of Greatness came from. It's all about helping women who may have experienced, whether it's divorce, whether it's a change in jobs, whether it's their children who have gone off to college. And for some people, maybe it's just a career change they need, and they just need that oomph. They need a group of women to come together of like-mindedness that could help them to find their best selves. So what we deal with and talk about in Season of Greatness is about understanding your meaning so that you can develop your message and carry out your mission, which basically is your purpose in life. And we can have different purposes at different seasons, because what I remember when I was in my 20s or 30s was totally different when I was in my 40s and 50s. And now being in my 60s and being also a grandmother. Yes, I'm a grandmother. I have beautiful grandchildren and I'm remarried. And so, God has just been so kind and so gracious. And I've realized that, we have different seasons in our lives. And we have to support that in each other.
Right. I think of the Bible scripture, like there's a season for everything. Mm-hmm. There's a time to speak. There's a time to be silent. Mm-hmm. There's a time for evil. There's a time for goodness. Yep. And I also think about that quote, people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Yep.
How do you figure out the difference?
Well, a lot of times it will become very apparent for you, and some people come in for all of it. But I think that, for me, I am of faith. I'm a Christian, so I love the Lord, and I trust Him for my everyday activity in life. And He knows what we need, even when we don't know what we need.
Right.
And so for me, when I think about even Season of Greatness, I just want especially women of color to understand that we are great and we have a lot of greatness in us. And it's not about being conceited. It's not about thinking, oh, I'm better than you. No, I'm better because of you.
Right.
And because of you, I need to be there for you as well. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we really stress in the membership, because it is a membership organization, is that you have to be about your sister. You have to care about the other person.
I am my sister's keeper.
Yes.
Okay.
You cannot be in it for selfish reasons. You can promote what you're doing, and it's important that we support one another in that, which is even how we're going to talk about the BBA's event, and us supporting that. Mm-hmm. But it's about caring enough about humanity and the sister that you're walking with in this community.
So are you paired with another sister, or is it just a network of women that you gravitate to who you feel is compatible?
No, you're not necessarily paired with another sister specifically. Mm-hmm. It's a group. We meet once a month.
Okay.
And sometimes they're virtual and sometimes they'll be in person. And it's about finding that connection with someone that might be someone you might get to know better outside of the circle even. Okay. I already know that there's some women that have connected and have even made some business deals. I'm happy for that, because that's the whole point, is for you to be able to be real, be authentic, be vulnerable. You have to have a place that you can go and say, hey, you know what? I didn't have it all together today.
Right.
You know, I've always been an entrepreneur, and I was going before my first corporate interview for a corporate client. And to be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure what to wear. And I remember there was a woman that I admired a lot, and I called her up, and she had no idea that I thought of her that way. And she was in corporate America. And I said, you know what? I am going for my very first corporate interview. It was actually with McDonald's. And I ended up having them as a client for 11 years.
Wow.
But she sat me down and she said, you need to get a Navy suit. She didn't say black. I would have gone and got a black suit. And she was telling me why and what to wear with it. And she said, you already have the personality. Don't worry about that. She said, and you already do research. You'll have that. She said, but now this will be, like the icing on the cake.
Wow.
So it's about having that sister that, if I wanted to come to you and say, you know what, I don't really understand how to do, personal interviews. Can you guide me a little bit? And if that's your profession, I also need to be able to pay you because we have to support one another. But if it's not your profession, but it is something you do well in, then you can share that tip and say, hey, sister, this is what you need to do.
So you said this is a membership. How does one become a member?
Go to any of my social media, which is just Wendy Gladney, and go to my bio on the social media, and I have a link tree.
All right, so then we're celebrating Women's Month all month, and you have a special event coming up on March 25th. Tell us about it.
Okay, well, first of all, I have to say I'm so excited and so proud of my sister, Sarah Harris, who is the new president of the Black Business Association here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so she has picked up, again, the salute to Black women that they are known for. And so we were talking and collaborating, and she knows all about Season of Greatness. And she said, you know what, sis, how would you like to possibly do a panel on what Season of Greatness is all about and sisterhood and how that ties into a salute to Black women. And we have an amazing panel, as you can see there, that are going to be discussing the topic with me. And I said, let me think about that. And so she went back and talked to her board to make sure everything's cool. And we were also able to get her a few sponsorships. And then we collectively put together the panel of various amazing women,
but I like what you did. So you have two simultaneous panels going on at the same time.
I do.
One for women and one for youth.
Correct.
Why did you feel the need to separate the two?
Well, because there's some things that we'll talk about as grown women that our youth are not quite ready for. And so we wanted to focus and follow the BBA's pattern. Over the years, they've had a section called Role Models for Success.
Okay.
And so basically for the youth under Forgiving for Living, which my daughter, Courtney Sabra Marie, will be the moderator for that, along with Kim Anthony, who's a board member with the BBA, and other young ladies as well. They're going to be talking about role models for success for young women, but also setting them up for business. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to go into corporate America? Do you want to own a franchise? At least planting those seeds in their heads now, because the young ladies will be between 12 and 18. So it's about planting seeds, because you have to be exposed to things in order to even think about it as a possibility. And then when you see it, then you can achieve it. So we're trying to help plant seeds through Forgiving for Living to young women that you can do it. And so we have young women also on that panel that will be able to speak to them in that area. And then for the adult women with Season of Greatness, we're going to talk a little bit more about encouraging one another. Do you want to make some transitions in your life? Many of us, especially since COVID, have thought about, what do I really want to do with my life?
So true.
Where do I really want to go? They'll start a career. They'll start in a job that they say, oh, I'll be here for about 2 years. They look up 20 years later and they're still there. Sometimes they have grown to like it and love it, and sometimes it's just a job. And we want people, especially our women, to be able to do more than just a job.
That's what I love about this younger generation. That's not their story.
No, not at all.
They're
trying
like
to wait.
9 to 5.
Yeah, and
What
getting a
is
gold
that?
watch at the end. Are you kidding me?
They're like 401k plan. I'm trying to get it now.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can learn something from them as well when we have these intergenerational conversations sometimes.
I am learning so much about tech from the young women in my life. And some of them are young women I mentor. Some of them are family. And they always tell me, we got to hip you. We got to educate you, because all my life in my business, I've always hired other people to do those things for me. And I still like that, because then I'm hiring someone and giving them employment. But there's some things we got to know, because sometimes we may have to act and we don't have anybody around us that can help us.
Right. Okay. So we have the women's talk. We have the Youth Talk Symposium, and then afterwards, there's a fabulous luncheon.
Oh, my goodness. The BBA has put together an amazing lineup for their luncheon and honorees. We have Mayor Bass, and there's also Honorable Sidney Kamlager. I know you saw the movie Woman King.
I did.
Well, the one who headed all of that up, she was the director, Gina Prince Blythewood, is the main honoree on Saturday, March 25th.
That is amazing. There was a lot of talk about her not receiving a nomination.
I know.
It went back and forth. So it's always good when we can celebrate each other, because we don't need an Oscar to do that.
No.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I was going to say, is that it's so interesting that we never forget each other. And it's so important that we celebrate one another and come out and support one another in any way we can. And then also we have Beverly White, who's just retired from NBC. We have Pat Prescott, who I know has been part of your family's team in terms of the work you're doing. Then there's also Devin Bakewell.
Right.
And then we also have Cynthia from Leimert Park and the Book Expo, and Regina Wilson, from California Black Media. And, you can come and you can attend just one of the panels in the morning, or you can attend the whole day. Now, the good part of it is, for the youth only, it's free. But they have to register, and they have to register by reaching out to me. And that's Wendy at forgivingforliving.org. Okay. Because there's only a certain number of spots. Okay. But then everybody else would have to go through the bbala.org.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing always some wisdom to take away from a conversation with you, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Niele. And thank you for always providing a platform for us to be able to share with the community.
It is my honor. As long as I have it, it's yours.
Thank you.
All right. So for the latest in Black news, you want to head over to our new look and our new website at lasentinel.net. And don't forget, the Daily Brief is available wherever podcasts can be found. I'm Niele Anderson, and you have just been debriefed.